Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I haven't made a video like this before, and this is fairly unscripted, so please bear with me. As you may have guessed from the title, presumably I don't know what I'm titling it yet, the topic today is going to be about the quiet misogyny of art spaces online. And we're going to be using the OC art trading site ArtFight as an excellent case study. As you may have guessed from my voice, if you are the type of person that makes assumptions, I am indeed regrettably a woman. Not regrettably because I hate it, it's fine. I don't really feel very strongly about it. Regrettably because for some of you, the way that you act, it's like it's the last thing you'd ever want to be caught dead being. Something I've said for years, which I know is generally agreed upon within my little echo chamber, but I don't know if it's as widely accepted in the outside world, is that even in the most progressive spaces, there lives an undercurrent of overtly misogynistic sentiment that seems to trump all efforts at unity, community building, or other progressive ideals. I've been around people who are pro-gay, pro-trans, pro a whole lot of other things, and at their core, they still just do not like women. When you finally start looking out for it, it becomes maddening. I've been doing ArtFight for a couple of years now. It's a great place. It's a great idea. So many artists out there are creating original stories and original characters, and they want nothing more than to have others engage with their work. They're often generous. They love sharing their art with other people. They want to do it freely. The site is a haven, especially for progressively minded creators, and I would say that the vast majority of artists and characters on the site fall somewhere under the LGBT umbrella. Even based on the moderation team's own event schedule, inclusivity is clearly a large part of the community. Although there are undoubtedly no small number of petty dramas and personality clashes on the website, and not everything has always been about the spirit of creativity and giving, but it remains true that the site at its core is built on these ideals. I love that idea, right? As the few of you that follow my work will be aware, I love creating art, I love creating original characters, I love uplifting other artists, so it was natural for me to want to join the website. And I've participated in ArtFight a number of years now, and I have a number of followers on there, probably more than I do on any other social media, which is slightly scary. And each year that passes, I become more sure of one core fact, a fact that I feel like other people are either completely unaware of or have deluded themselves into intentionally not noticing. The ArtFight user base hates women. All right, so maybe hate is a bit of a strong term, but it's hard to know what else to call it. We can soften the wording to deep-rooted distaste, animosity. I mean, we could even go as gentle as to call it discomfort, but I don't think it's possible to deny the existence of this issue. At least I didn't think there was. I've been aware of this issue for some time, and in an attempt to remedy it, I've had a note on my ArtFight profile where I say, I will not engage with users who don't have female characters. I mean, considering that in real life, women make up a solid half of the entire population, it doesn't really feel like an extreme ask or like a tall order to say something like that, but I've gotten a good degree of friction, both on the site itself and in the official Discord. I'm pretty sure I've even been blocked over it. One thing you might need to know about me is that I'm not an artist by career. My background is in the sciences. I have a bachelor's in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I currently work in a lab, and I'm going to be pursuing a higher degree starting this August. I'm not telling you what type, though. I don't want to get doxxed. Although I know that feelings don't work this way, perhaps as a result of my schooling, I've always felt that having concrete evidence can make the pill go down a little bit more easily. So I've decided to use my degree for exactly what it was meant, conducting a very detailed study of the ArtFight population in an attempt to prove how bad things really are. Actually, before we get into all of that, it's kind of far into the video, but I probably shouldn't assume that all of you know what ArtFight is, so here's your brief overview. ArtFight is a OC, original character, art trading website. Essentially, users are able to upload their original characters onto the website, and then, during a month-long event that spans for the entirety of July every year, they are able to draw the characters of other users on the website. The users during this event are sorted into teams, and making free art for other people is how you earn points for your team. It's a great way of gamifying generosity, and it's a great way to get free art of your characters and create free art for people whose characters you really admire. The core functionality of the website is the ability to upload characters and the ability to upload a text, which is not super relevant to this video. When you upload a character, you can provide writing. I'm going to be calling this their bio for the remainder of the video. And you can upload images, up to 6, but this will become relevant later. Up on screen are going to be a couple other points for people that don't know anything about the game that might be relevant. Moving on. All right. Before we start, aims. My aim with this study is to prove that there are no women on ArtFight. That's extreme. My aim with this study is to prove that women are disproportionately underrepresented on ArtFight, both in terms of sheer numbers, but also in terms of artist investment in their female characters that they do have. All right, a demographic study. Let's go through my methods. First of all, this is a randomized asterisk study, as random as I could get it. I have collected a sample of 1,000 unique ArtFight characters. I wanted to be able to track things such as favoritism, which meant top 5 characters. So instead of going just by random character button, what I elected to do was hitting random user and then going through each user's characters and inputting them all into a spreadsheet. In the spreadsheet, I recorded a bunch of details. As I said, top 5 mattered to me, so you should know ahead of time, users with fewer than 6 characters were excluded from the study. This is just because top 5 doesn't really count if you only have 5. Another thing I did was put a maximum. I ran into one user pretty early on who had like 70 characters. That's just not very representative of the average ArtFight user, and I felt that because each person is different, having too many characters from one person would poison the well. So I set a maximum amount of characters to 15. Any user that had 15 or more characters had the first in order 15 of their characters added to my sheet. The rest were simply not included. I will answer more questions about this in the comments, but the last important omissions you need to be aware of: any user that seemed to be an extremely young child, especially younger than the terms of service allows, was excluded from the study. Users whose only images were Hero Forge / Gacha Life and that sort of image were also excluded. You can argue with me about this if you want to, but the whole point of this was I was counting image number as an evidence of favoritism. I focused, even when I was taking image counts, game screenshots were excluded from those image counts. It was important that the image was either hand-drawn or commissioned. Next, let's talk classification guidelines. Throughout the course of this study, it was very important to me to be able to classify characters into gender categories. There were a number of ways that this was done. So if a character's gender was listed, they were obviously classified as that gender. All characters that were listed as a man or woman, obviously including binary trans characters, were counted as their stated gender. If a character was listed as a less binary gender, such as demigirl or demiboy, they were put under a male-aligned or woman-aligned category. More on that later. Characters with she, her, or he, him pronouns were characterized as women or men, respectively, unless specified otherwise, or unless heavily implied otherwise by the profile. Characters that were not men, not women, and not closely aligned with either were placed into a other/neuter category, and characters that were aligned closer with a specific gender were just noted separately as man-aligned or woman-aligned, so that I could have one version of my chart where I included them as men and women, and one version of my chart where I put them into the other category. I also used a man object/animal and woman object/animal definition. This was applied to any character that was listed as male or female, but was a simple blob, a stick figure, a pet, like a non-anthropomorphized animal, like a normal horse. It felt like a stretch to call these characters men or women, so they were put into their own category. Now, gender was not the only thing I recorded in my sheet. In brief, the other categories that were taken into account for every single character was: is the character a top 5 character numerically? Yes, no. How many images does each character have, excluding screenshots? Next, what is the quality of the character's bio? How invested is the artist in writing them? One category, of course, was sonas. They were just counted separately. But then the bio categories were full, brief, accessory, more on that later, design only, or none. A design-only character is a character such as a adoptable that has no story. The difference between design-only and none is mostly vibes-based, so take that into account when I'm pulling my results. I generally put characters as none if it was clear that they were meant to have a story, but the person couldn't be asked to write it down. What is the accessory category? Accessories are characters that only exist to be an accessory to another existing character. This is a character whose only trait in their bio is, she is the sister of, she is the mother of. I use she because, as you'll see soon, the gender ratios on this one were pretty blatant. I think that that's enough detail. You can ask me more stuff in the comments if you're curious. Hey, here's a brief addendum. Can you hear the birds chirping outside? I'm on a walk. Before conducting the main study that this video is about, I actually did 2 pilot studies. The first of these studies was actually extremely rudimentary. I mean, the only thing I really did was go on recent characters, go every 3 pages. The page has 30 characters. How many out of those 30 characters are women? I got 29% using this, which was a pretty bad number in my opinion. I went through about 20 pages, so that's 600 characters, but I didn't really get much else out of that. Car. I mean, first of all, I was going mostly based off of appearance, which isn't super accurate. Second of all, another car. I was not really counting how many men, for example, there were. So there's 29% women, but if there's only 29% men, it's not really that unbalanced, is it? So I knew I needed a slightly better metric than that. I then did a second version of this study where I tracked the same sort of gender breakdown I did here, but the results are extremely similar to my actual study, but I tracked, fewer variables, so we're just gonna ignore that one completely. Alright, look, you're here for the data, or maybe you're here to yell at me, I'm not really sure yet. We'll see how this is received, but you're here for the data. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of ways of defining man and woman, and some are more expansive and some are more strict than others, so I decided to collect both so I could visualize both. Here is a graph of the most inclusive possible definition of man and woman, where all male-aligned or female-aligned non-binary characters are included with their respective closest gender. Although I like to believe that all of you know how to read, I understand that this is background noise for some of you, so let me read it all out. A meager 30.6% of all characters were women, even using the most inclusive possible definition of woman. Meanwhile, 58.1%, that is almost double, were men. Of the remainder, 8.1% were neither men nor women or something else entirely, and about 3.2% were not really applicable. This is things like people's real-life pets, links out to their Toy House pages, design me a character prompts, things where the gender is not really relevant. This is bad. It gets worse, though. If we were to take slightly more restrictive versions of the genders in which we consider all aligned non-binary characters as other, so we don't count them as men or women, only 21.7% of characters on Artfight are women. Meanwhile, 48.5% are men. This is still almost half of all of the characters. Almost half. This puts us now at 23.2% other characters, neither man nor woman, and the not applicable category has also increased a bit to 6.6%. This is just because I took all male or female animal or object characters. I think I described this definition a bit earlier on, and I just put them into the not applicable category because it didn't really feel right to put them in other. In case any of that was confusing at all, here is a more detailed breakdown where I show you all of my subcategories. Again, as you can see, the strictest definition of women is 21.5% of all characters. You can read the other percents by yourself. It is basically what we just discussed. We can all agree this is bad, right? Like, there is no metric by which this isn't bad. But if you're not convinced, or even if you are, it does get worse. Let's talk about character investment. So, what is character investment? Well, for the purposes of this video, character investment is going to mean how much an artist cares about a given character. It's how much art they've made, how much writing they've done, how much thought they've put in, how much time out of their lives they've sunk into making this character into a fully realized person. Why does this matter? Well, as I was doing some of my pilot studies and I was counting up the ratios of men to women, one thing struck me. By simply doing an integer count of characters within each gender category, I was treating male characters and female characters as if they were equivalent. In an ideal world, this is true. A male character and a female character being up on the site is the same amount of value for someone that would be interested in drawing one of them. But it's not really true. As I was looking through these profiles, I began to realize some trends in the bios I was skimming. It truly just felt like they just cared more about their male characters. In short, favoritism. How do you account for favoritism? How do you do it objectively? If you are dedicated to making a pseudoscientific study where you sound really, really smart, how are you going to do that? How are you going to turn something completely subjective into numbers? Well, this is what I did. Prelude. I mentioned a couple of times now that one possible measure of how much people like a character is how high up is this character placed on their profile? Is the character in their top 5 images? Well, that's a pretty good distribution. Look at those stats. It seems like women are not any less likely than men to be in the top 5 characters. In fact, they're slightly more likely. That's a great start. So, case closed. There aren't a lot of female characters on ArtFight, but the ones there are highly cherished. Can we be serious for a second? My first metric was number of images. On ArtFight, it is possible to upload up to 6 images of a character, or as few as 1. In my mind, if an artist is willing to draw more images of a character and to go through the admittedly massive hassle of uploading them to the ArtFight website, it shows that they care a little bit more. So surely, counting the average images per character and seeing if that differed by gender, that should paint some sort of picture about how much people care. Here's that, by the way. It's not looking really great, is it? It's okay. It gets worse. Let's talk about bio quality. So, a biography. What do you really think about the character? What do you want to write about the character? I think I mentioned this earlier. I broke it down into a couple of categories. Sonas, full bios. These are bios that were very long, very in-depth, showed a great deal of care. Brief bios where, at least you got to know something about the character. Design-only characters where, they're just there to look pretty. No bio at all, where you couldn't really care enough to put anything down. And accessory characters. Characters that, by the artist's own admission, are only up on the site because I'd really love it if you drew him with his sister. This is his mother, by the way. Let's look at men first. Why not? It looks like almost half of all men had at least a brief bio. That's good. That's awesome. You seem to care about this character. If you add up the ones that had a full bio, that's almost 80% of male characters with a great deal of thought and care put into them. Let's subtract the sonas. Those obviously don't really count. While 10% had no bio, about almost 6% were only there for the pretty design. That's fine. And only 1% were really there as an accessory for a different character. I mean, that makes sense. What's the point of putting up a character just to serve someone else? You wouldn't do that, right? Let's look at other. Bio quality distribution, it's fine. Pretty much worse than men, let's be real. We're still at 46% for brief bios. That's good, but way fewer full bios, only around 11%. It seems a lot more of these are sonas. That's something interesting demographically, I suppose. ArtFight user base seems to have a lot of non-binary artists. That's great. I mean, it would be if they weren't misogynists. There also seem to be a lot more design-only characters. I guess people really like making pretty pictures with genderless characters. Pretty cool. Again, we're sitting at a cool 1.2% made as accessories. Now, let's look at women. The only reason I'm going to walk you through this is for the people that are listening and not watching. 42.9% for brief. That's bad compared to the other two. It's not abysmal. Only 13% are full. It's better than the other characters, but about half of men, actually less than half of men with full bios. 12.6% design only, pretty pictures. 11.9% none. That is the highest amount of characters with no bias. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. 12.3% of female characters on Artfight exists as accessories. Their only points in their bios is that they are girlfriends, they are sisters, they are mothers. If you need me to spell out for you why this is a problem, you're not going to understand the point of this video. Let's not dwell on that too long. I'm sure there's no other metrics where women performed terribly. Goonerism. Okay, this one's obviously subjective, but if I saw a character that looked like a straight-up sex homunculus, I marked them as a goonerist character design. I was extremely generous with what I labeled as this. You'll see that for women, they are... I think that the visual speaks for itself. You don't need the exact numbers, but just know that women are 3 times as likely to be goonery character designs than characters in general, and men are far less likely than characters at large to be designed with nothing but sex appeal in mind. Like I said, I was pretty generous with what I counted as a goonery design. However, there are many reasons other than being a goonery design why a character might suck. So here's the next metric, just sucks. I understand that might sound pretty subjective. Let me elucidate what I mean. Just sucks is what I categorized characters that were not explicitly hypersexualized, but were either bad or downright offensive for a variety of other reasons. I actually don't know how many of these I can tell you about because I would have to get pretty specific with the contents of their bios, and I don't want to break witness protection for the people that were involved in this study. But you should know that some of the issues that I marked these as sucking for regarded pedophilic or incestuous sentiment, repeatedly being characterized as bitches. One character's only personality trait was that she was idiotic. You can disagree with me on these if you want, but they all felt either extremely offensive or extremely mean-spirited. Now, some astute viewers may have noticed, at no point did I mention characters that were culturally insensitive or racist. Wow, what a progressive site. That really wasn't a problem on Artfight? No, it was such a problem that I had to review this separately. I mean, I don't really know what to say here. I think this really speaks for itself. Artfight is an incredibly white site. These numbers were collected concurrently with the rest of my data. As you can see here, the percentage of non-white characters on the website is extremely low. Non-white characters here includes obviously human characters that are not white, but also includes characters that are humanoid or that are furries that have clear racial coding. This did not really help the statistics even a little bit. I will say a notable caveat is that anime Japanese characters were not generally considered to be non-white unless they were very clearly thought out as being such. There are many characters on this site that by that technicality could be called East Asian, but it is very clear that the artists do not conceptualize them as such and do not bother drawing them as such. Going back to elephants in the room, you may have noticed there is a second figure on screen here, one that I have not addressed yet. That's right. Almost 8% of the non-white characters on Artfight are explicitly racist. Just like my definition of a gooner character design, I was very, very generous with characters I counted as racist. A character was only marked as racist if the design was so culturally insensitive or so stereotypical that I considered reporting it to the site admins. Characters who I just felt were generally poorly depicted were instead counted as just sucks. And as you can see here, actually, the proportion of non-white characters that just sucked wasn't that different than white characters, which is some relief. They were, however, twice as likely to be extremely sexualized. Just thought that was interesting. Also, hey, similarly to everything I've shown you so far about the female demographic, the non-white character demographic is pretty bad. I think that when you see that, 8% of characters are non-white, you're like, oh, okay, so those are people of color. Those are Black characters, those are Asian characters, those are Hispanic characters, etc., etc., etc. No, they're not. I tried to record terms regarding race and physical traits alongside all the characters that I had marked as non-white, and you can see here an extremely painful to put together bubble map of which terms showed up the most often in my descriptions. Yeah, that was most of them. I would say that almost 90% of the non-white characters are some sort of anime brown. Very few of them had a defined racial identity or even defined facial features. There were also some pretty bad ones in here. I'm actually not going to read these out, but here's a little zoom in on screen so you can look at them. Please don't do this. Like, oh my god, sorry, you people piss me off. Let's move on. While we're here, there's not terribly many fat characters on this site either. The same goes, of course, for characters over a certain age, I would say over 45, or characters that are visibly disabled, and no, white eye anime blindness does not count. In the entire time I was looking, which was, again, 1,000 samples, I would be surprised if I saw more than 5 of either, especially not older women. The reason these were not charted on my spreadsheet is honestly because I forgot to count them, but I think I've proven that I can collect data enough for you to take me on my word for this one. The reason I'm showing you all of this data is just to make a point that women are far from the only group that is incredibly underrepresented on ArtFight. In fact, I would say that apart from queer characters, almost every marginalized identity is completely absent from the demographics that the users there choose to depict. It's kind of sad for a place that really bills itself as being progressive. So, where does that leave us? Well, let's circle back to a chart I showed you a little bit ago. The complete gender ratio breakdown. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. 30% women is never not going to be bad, but could it be bearable? Well, it's not really 30% women, is it? I think I've shown you that not every character is created equal. Some characters are written poorly or not really written at all. What happens if you really want to attack a character who's not an offensive stereotype, who has writing about them? What is the actual percentage of ArtFight characters that are viable attack targets for people that care about writing? This actually proved to be pretty difficult to calculate in my spreadsheet, but trust I got the job done. Basically, I considered a character to be a viable attack target if they satisfied 2 criteria. First criterion: the character must have a brief or a full-length bio. Again, I was very generous with what I considered a brief bio. I just want a character that you clearly put at least a little bit of thought into. And second criterion? Well, the character has to be good. So I had to subtract from that total all of the characters within that pool that were either an extremely hypersexualized design, straight up racist, or sucked for other related reasons. I did this, of course, for all of my categories, for women, for men, and for other characters, and I have created a graph of characters that I believe are actually viable attack targets. I mean, yeah, I can't really bring myself to read this one out, so this is the time to look back at your screen if you were looking away. It's bleak. No, I mean, it's just bleak. I don't get it. Why does this happen? Why do none of you know how to write female characters? Why do none of you want to write female characters? Alrighty, so this is going to be the least scripted part of the video, and if you've stuck around this far, thank you, genuinely. This is the part where I drop all the data and I just give you my opinions. This is the part where we talk. I believe that the art we make is one of the truest glimpses into our values. It says a lot about who someone is, the type of art that they decide to make, the type of stories that they decide are worth telling. When I see the discrepancies that exist in gender portrayals. Of course, art fight, it's not the whole internet, it's not the whole artist community, but it's such a good microcosm of it. A lot of art fight artists got their beginnings and still participate heavily in fandom. I don't think it's controversial or a new observation to say that fandom is very hostile to female characters. Always is, always has been. I mean, I would argue that part of the reason why M/ has been such a, the reigning king of fandom for so many years is because you don't have to think about any women with it. You can just out of sight, out of mind. It's really disappointing considering how many of these creators are women, but internalization runs really, really deep. It's not, it's just society at large, right? Like, it's what we can whinge and we can hand wring and we can say, oh, this niche artist community is hostile towards women. Society is hostile towards women. It always has been. I think that a lot of people in fandom, when you ask them, why don't you engage with female characters? If they're woke enough and, they don't want to seem like they're regressive, they'll say, well, the women in this are just very poorly written. That's why I don't want to engage with them. And the worst part is that they're right. I would say most women in most pieces of media are atrociously written. But how does that relate to original characters? Art fight is a space for original creations. So why are people still not writing women? Why are we so afraid of treating women like people? I don't have an answer to this. I don't think anyone does. Any answer I could give you is one that is extremely self-evident, extremely surface level, and extremely unsatisfying. This is just what society is. Misogyny is woven into the grain of our world, and we just have to live with it. But we don't. We don't have to live with it, and this does not have to be the way that anything is ever. If I had a point with making this video, the point would be that I want things to change. Single-handedly, I can't change everything, but I am, of course, doing my part. For the last couple years, I've been writing exclusively female characters, and trying to make them as interesting and complex and messy and gross and horrible, quite frankly, as any character has a right to be. I think that we need to change our entire paradigm of how we conceptualize a female character. Even talking about them as female characters is kind of bad. I think we have a mental set, really. When you think of a female character, it's like, well, she has to look a certain way. She has to act a certain... No, she doesn't. Take your favorite... This is my challenge to you. My challenge to you, once you click off this video, if you are an artist and you are a creative, take your favorite, and I don't even mean your second favorite. You can do it with whoever, but take your favorite male character and just make him a woman. That's it. That's my challenge to you. Make him a woman. Now you might say, but I would have to change. Do you? What do you have to change? What parts of him do you think are inherently incompatible with womanhood? If you say a personality trait, I will fucking shoot you. Sorry. Am I allowed to... Does YouTube get mad at me if I say bad words? Probably, whatever. YouTube's going to be mad at me regardless. If you say a personality trait, I'm going to be quite cranky with you. There are no personality traits that are male exclusive or female exclusive. Jesus Christ, I thought we were past that. If you say a lived experience, I'm willing to play with you. Okay, this lived experience would not have happened to a woman. All right, how can we adapt it? In fact, what if it did happen to a woman? What different hurdles would the woman have had to jump through to get to that place? How differently would it have affected her? It's just such an interesting writing exercise. Oh, I would have to change his appearance. No, you don't. Take the character. He looks exactly the same. He's a woman now. Oh my God, that was so easy. You did not have to make his hair long. You did not have to put him in a little mini skirt. Women can still dress the exact same way as their male count. Okay, clearly this part is not scripted. Okay, we've lost it. Recenter, regroup. Can you people please just accept that women are human beings, that we have complexity, that we have thoughts, that we have personalities, that we can be complicated people, that we can be bad people? Not bitches though. Jesus Christ. If you sit and you write a female character and your first instinct is to describe her as a bitch, you need to just go bald. Just scrap all of it. Yeah, okay, we need a conclusion to this video. As I believe I have hopefully made clear throughout this video, misogyny, especially the quiet type, is extremely prevalent in online artist communities, as best exemplified by the OC art trading site ArtFight. Now, this is the part where you expect me to say, well, I'm not showing this data to shame anyone. You shouldn't feel bad if this is you. I am. As much as I would like to sugarcoat it and let this video go down easier, I do think you should feel bad. If you feel like you're incapable of writing a female character, that's something you need to examine about yourself, and I do think that you should feel guilty for not doing it. The same goes for writing characters that are people of color, the same goes for writing characters that are older, for writing characters that are disabled, for writing characters that are fat. If you struggle to conceptualize anyone that is part of one of these groups as being an interesting person or having a story worth telling or being someone that you're capable of being invested in, this points to a deep-rooted bias. Now, I'm not saying that these biases are your fault. All of us are raised in a society that instills this in us, but especially if you are an adult, this is something you should be actively fighting. This is something you should be actively unlearning, and I do believe that complacency is the same thing as acceptance when it comes to harmful standards. Don't be complacent. Let the data I've shown you hopefully inspire you to change things for the better if you can. And yeah, that's all I had to say. If you want to go scream at me in the comments, please feel free. I'm probably not going to reply though. I'm choosing my battles from now on. If you have any further questions about how my study was conducted, do comment that. I do plan on replying to what I can, although you should all know that I'm currently suffering from a repetitive strain injury in my wrist, so typing is a bit of a problem. That's why I've been making this video instead of preparing for ArtFight, and also why it's not very scripted. I could not type out a script. Thank you to my Instagram followers who helped me come up with some of the questions I would be answering in this. That's all. See you on the flip side. Oh, and there is no statistical analysis portion. I'm sorry. If I'm going to be completely honest, this turned out to be so much more work than I wanted it to be, and I have a full-time job. I have presented all of this data without error bars and without significance values. I know I could calculate them, but I'm just tired. The data, the raw data, my spreadsheet will be linked in the description. If anyone likes statistics and likes analyzing my data, I would actually love it if you went through. Even you can take my own graphs. You can even make your own graphs. If you want to tell me the significance of my own findings, go ahead. I mean, I feel like they're pretty significant, but I haven't done a chi-squared, right? I have no clue. So go ahead, do that. Just wanted to get that out there.